So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. It's 6 in the morning almost. I woke up kind of early. I just had some things on my mind I wanted to talk about and just really explore what's going on in our world. And I can do this peacefully at this time of morning. There's no noise, there's no weirdos, because most of them are asleep. But let's just have a chat about the world and everything that's really going on. So, this is the post second term reelection of Donald Trump. As we all know by now, he defeated Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. But I'm looking at the reaction of people as a result of President Trump's reelection. And the more and more I look at people and examine their behavioral patterns, the more and more I realize people ain't shit. And I'm not going to preference it, not all, and I'm not going to say none of that shit because when you say that, it's almost like you are kind of giving in to, you're submitting to pressure that you somehow have to accept these people's behavioral patterns and their psychoses and their their weird behavior. I'm looking all through social media and I'm looking at the comments that people are making. Doesn't matter what the race is. See, race and ethnicity is what gets people stuck and caught up in a lot of stuff and a lot of emotions. So we're not going to put a race on it. It doesn't matter what your race is. If you are a rotten, disgusting person, you are simply a rotten, disgusting person. Doesn't matter what your color is. Doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. I'm not going to take up for gay people who are rotten and disgusting because they're gay. I would rather rock with a straight person than a toxic gay person. You get my drift? But I'm looking at the response of people who obviously supported President Trump in his endeavors to get reelected. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. We live in a democracy and the people spoke. I get that. That's not my issue. My issue is not about you liking a certain candidate. I don't believe people should be bullied into liking a candidate simply because I like them. But that's what with that's what both sides do. I'm looking at people make the most disparaging, the most disgusting comments, wishing for, hoping for President elect Trump to make other people's lives miserable, to enhance suffering, misery, and mayhem. I'm looking at all of these people in social media do all of these things and talk about all of these things, talking about what they hope happens to people. They're putting this out into the universe. And it's a large enough amount of people who focus and they put that out into the universe so it can manifest. And that is where I guess you could say the occultism and the spiritual part of it comes into play. That's why in American Horror Story season 7, they had an entire season dictated, I'm sorry, not dictated, dedicated to President Trump. That's why. It was called Cult. Because a lot of these people, I'm not really faulting President Trump for this, but a lot of these people, they act like cult members. That's what they act like. And I pose a serious question to a lot of these people who have these strong emotions and just these toxic, emotionally and psychologically violent ideas of what they want to happen to your average American or your average person who may have different political views. I pose a question. Do you not think that it's not going to be your turn one day? Because the pendulum always switches up. The pendulum switches up every 4 to 8 years because it's a game that they play. Sometimes the blue team wins, sometimes the red team wins. The red team back in the early 2000s was in a lot of trouble because of the wars in Iraq and the wars in Afghanistan. And at that time, people were simply tired of war. So they elected Obama because he brought in change and hope. And some places that normally voted Republican ended up flipping to Democrat, like North Carolina, because people were tired of those two wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Then, after the 8 years of Obama, everybody got mad at Obama. And when his term was up, they wanted a Republican to come in to fix their problems, right? So they voted for Donald Trump. He beat Hillary Clinton. But then after the insurrection and after 4 years of COVID and all of that stuff, after all of that, then the pendulum went back to the blue. Then they got mad at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their policies, and rightfully so. I'm not saying you didn't have a right to. So they voted for Donald Trump again. And now they're wishing death practically on people. They are harassing people. They are stalking people. We're not talking about political positions and policies, governmental policies or political policy. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about the psyche and the heart of America, which is the citizens. And we're talking about them being up under a certain yoke, a certain frequency, a certain vibration of violence, terrorism, stalking, harassment. You can add racism there. And you see this being played out into the universe. They are rejoicing in the fact that some people are going to suffer under this new frequency that we're up under. And the thing is that the people that you really want to suffer, or the people that really deserve to suffer, let me say it that way, the people that really deserve what this new frequency can bring are not going to be the people that suffer. The people that you really want to suffer usually are not the ones who suffer. The people who usually end up suffering are people who have nothing to do with the downfall of a certain situation. The people that you really want to feel that pain and feel that sting are usually not the people that feel it. Usually it's the innocent people who've done nothing. I understand people want to fix immigration. I get it. I got it. I understand it. But the people that are probably going to be hurt by this new frequency are probably the immigrants who are really decent, good, hardworking people. Those are the ones who are probably going to suffer more behind this new frequency. Not the criminals, not the murderers and rapists and all of that other stuff, not them. See, they know how to maneuver, they know how to scam, they know how to hide, they know how to do all of those things. So you all are wishing for the eradication, the deaths, and the suffering for innocent people. When you unleash a flood, let me use this analogy. When you unleash a flood, you can't tell the flood, don't go here because I like that person. Don't go here because I like that person. No, when you unleash a flood, it takes everything out. It takes everything out in everyone. You can't tell a flood how to flood. And that's how hatred is. And I'm not talking about hate in the sense of you hate something, so you're going to do something to change it. I'm not talking about that hate. I'm talking about hatred, where you hate people because you don't like how they look, you don't like how they talk, you don't like their their decorum. I'm talking about that type of hatred. You don't like a person, you don't like the person because they speak up, they stand for something, and they don't fall for anything, like so many of you who claim that you have so much, but you really don't have anything. So what are you going to do when it's your turn? Because see, everybody gets a turn on the pendulum of fate. Everybody gets a turn. What are you going to do when it's your turn? When it's your turn to be, I guess you can say, the sacrificial lamb. What are you going to do? We live in a culture where people do not understand what embracing your dark side means. And this leads into a deeper conversation. People think that embracing your dark side means that you have to inflict pain and suffering on other people. People think that this is why some people should not be practicing, well, or should not be doing certain things spiritually. And I'm going to say it straight like that. Some people think that by causing suffering and unhappiness and misery and harming people, they think that that is embracing your dark side. Well, I have a news flash for people who think like that. That's bullshit. That's not embracing your dark side. We all have dark thoughts. Don't let me be clear. We all have dark thoughts. But when you actually go out of your way to harm other people in an endeavor to embrace your dark side, which is what I'm seeing worldwide now, when you go out of your way to do that, that's not embracing your dark side. That's embracing your psychosis. That's embracing psychopathic tendencies. That's embracing suffering. That is low level spirituality, very low level spirituality, because it doesn't take much, contrary to what people believe, it doesn't take much to bully, harass, harm children, harming babies. That doesn't take much. That's easy to do. To be honest with you, that is an easy task. The true embracing your dark side has nothing to do with doing anything physically. And that is how you know that some of these people are not really on a true spiritual path because their minds are one dimensional. So that's why I said earlier you have people who are wishing for, after this post election, they're wishing for the deaths, suffering of other people simply because, simply because that's not embracing your dark side. That is embracing your psychopathic side. How good you are at being a psychopath. That's not spirituality. That's not spirituality. Embracing your dark side would be going inside of yourself, coming out of your body, and flying around the universe. See, those are the hidden sides of us that we don't tap into. I have. I've flown around the universe in meditation. I've done that. That's embracing your dark side because that is a darker side of you. You can't separate darkness, your dark side, from your shadow self. You can't separate the two. The two are distinctively intertwined. Harming other people is low level magic, it is low level spirituality. It will get you materialistic things, but it won't get you much more than that. It will get you a temporary fix on certain human things, like, the torturing and the sacrificing of children through the, what do they call it, the adrenochrome, and causing children stress and what do they call it? Duress. When people do things like that, they can feed off of that. But that's like being a parasite. That's like being a parasitical person. If you're such a high level spiritual person, then you would not have to harm children or babies. If you really knew how to tap into your real dark side, because I'm going to tell you something, your real dark side has nothing to do with earth. See, that's where people get it mixed up. And I know people are wondering, how did you go from the election to this? Well, because a lot of the people, a lot of the people a lot of the people who I am seeing do these things, it seems like it's a pattern. They want to cause pain and suffering. They want to see people suffer. They want to see certain groups of people suffer. So they can profit off of it. That's why I'm bringing it up. And then some other things I've been seeing. That's why I'm bringing it up. You know, I'm going to tell you something. I believe in balance, negative energy, positive energy, not in the sense of human ideologies, but in the sense of the spirit. Everything has to keep a balance. Going back to the movie Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, that movie was really about balance as well. I've talked about that before. The symbologies of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, or Hellraiser in general. That movie was about balance. And all of the characters in that movie had an imbalance. For those people who watched or who know about that movie Hellraiser, you know about the guy with the pin in his head and the box, the laminate configuration and all that shit, y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of them had an imbalance. Kirsty had an imbalance. Julia had an imbalance. Larry had an imbalance. Frank had an imbalance. And the Cenobites were reflections of those imbalances. So when Frank opened up that box, he was searching for hell, negativity. He was a sadist. He was a sexual sadist. He was a deviant. So when he opened up that box, which is I can't think of the word right now. It's kind of early, y'all, child. What's the word I'm looking for? Shit. When he opened that box was like a subliminal representation of the subconscious. So when he opened up that box, it was like he was opening up his own subconscious because you know each one of them had their own personal hell. You see what I'm saying? And then in Hellbound Hellraiser 2, they had to go into hell because there was an imbalance within the realms. So once they corrected that imbalance, the gateway was closed because Leviathan was imbalanced. But remember when Julia, the wicked stepmother, when she fed Leviathan Dr. Chenard, afterwards she lost her skin again and went back to her hell, which was in the realm of which was in that mattress. Her hell was being trapped in that mattress. So the point that I'm making is that with all and remember in that movie there were a lot of sacrifices made too. Remember Dr. Chenard, he allowed Julia to feed off of and sacrifice a lot of patients so she could reanimate herself into her original skin. And after all of that, she ended up dying anyway, and so did he. Because they weren't really embracing their dark side. They were embracing their desires. See, there's a difference. There's a difference in embracing your dark side versus embracing your desires. What's happening now with this election and all of this shit? People are embracing their desires. That's all this is. They're embracing their desires. not their dark side. And I'm just using this post election as an example. No judgment. People can vote for whomever they want to. It would have been the same thing with, you know, the other candidate, Kamala Harris. People vote for who they want. Remember, for those who are Hellraiser fans, Hellbound Hellraiser 2, remember after the young girl Tiffany opened up the box, the Cenobites were getting ready to do what they do. You know, they come, when you open up that box, they come and they tear your soul apart. They were getting ready to really go into her, right? To tear her up. But Pinhead said, it is not hands that call us, it is desire. He told them, no, we can't kill her because she's completely innocent, number one. So we can't come and take her because it is not hands that call us, it is desire. And what he meant was is that it wasn't her calling us. She's not inherently evil. She's not embracing evil desires because that's what they were really saying. It's not her. He knew it was Julia and Shannar that had really put her up to that. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? What I'm saying? It makes sense to me. It may not make sense to you all. What I'm saying is this: your dark side and your desires, it's not the same thing. Embracing your dark side is unlocking the secrets of your DNA, the magical secrets, the supernatural secrets of your DNA. That's embracing your dark side. Going into those hidden places in your mind. Whatever comes out, it comes out. But that's embracing your dark side. Everyone has dark thoughts. Everyone has sinister thoughts. Me, you, we all do. That's embracing your dark side, not manifesting suffering, continued suffering. That's manifesting poverty, psychosis, and being a psychopath. And there are a lot of psychopathic people who unfortunately practice certain forms of spiritualism, but they really don't have any real power because they're not tapping into their dark side. They're tapping into their dark desires. And that's a difference. See, that girl in Hellraiser Tiffany that opened the box, she was really tapping into her dark side because she knew how to solve puzzles, which that puzzle box, the Lamet configuration, was symbolic of the subconscious mind. That's why the Cenobites did not bother her, because they knew that she was tapping into her real dark side. But when you tap into your dark desires, which the Cenobites were a representation of that, when you tap into your dark desires, they can engulf you and take you over and ultimately destroy you. And that's what's happening to a lot of these people who think that Trump is going to save them. You're tapping into your darker desires. That's low level magic. That's low level spirituality because you're not doing any real work. And this has nothing to do with Trump. He's just a figure. No hatred to the president at all. He's a figure. You have your own mind and you make up your own decisions on what you want to do. Trump can't make you stalk and harass people. You do that on your own. So, anyway, I just wanted to drop that little tidbit. And I think that's all I really have to say. So, are you tapping into your dark desires or are you embracing your dark side? Because embracing your dark side has nothing to do with your human desires. Your dark side has always been there. Human desires come and go with each incarnation. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.